What is up, and welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Burbos. We are joined once again, round 25. Carnage has come and gone, and we are into the preliminary finals for our head-to-head finals. And I'm joined here by the 2021 champion, Timmy Moody. How are you, Timmy?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I had a pretty tough weekend with this SuperCoach. Had a pretty dark Monday, and I've just pulled my stuff together for the podcast. I was pretty down and out and in a really bad mood with started just reflecting on the whole season and just my whole approach. And as for the week though, I guess it was a 1378, which was an underwhelming score. For 1 week, I wasn't really looking too much at what my total score was compared to the rest of SuperCoach, except for like two opponents I was playing in head-to-heads. And I was, the shitty thing is I went against my plan. I was going to bring Joey Manu in this week, last week, for Burbo. But with Nathan Cleary going down, I went, nah, not doing that now. I need to keep my 3 trades up my sleeve and just sort of, message you guys and said, I'm not even going to try to win my head-to-heads. I just don't think I'm going to win. Turbo, they've all got Turbo. Their team looks better. I'm already behind. We didn't play Eli Katoa, which was a big ouch.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, okay. Didn't have that. Hit some lucky tries. We'll touch on those. Yeah. They were very lucky, and, it could have been anyone that sort of fell. It wasn't like isolated plays for him. It wasn't any sort of necessary brilliance by him. Not to sort of crap on, him or people that played him, whatever. It was just it was one that we thought we could have got away with, but it went really badly. Almost a ton, basically, 85 or whatever it was.
Yeah, a lot of people did it, and I feel like a lot of people would have not expected much upside in this matchup. I feel like a lot of experienced super coaches left him on the pine, and it just felt like if you played him, it was out of you needing to because of your depth. So It just felt like a lucky play. But at the same time, I actually called you probably 45 minutes before the game, and I said, are we overthinking Eli Katoa? He's been a gun all year. Do we just bank the points now and then hope, Dom Young is under an injury cloud? Do we wait and see how he goes and then maybe wait and see how the weekend plans out? Obviously, Dom Young came in and scored 128, but little did we know, Kaoliro was someone who was ruled out quite late, and it was carnage that we just wasn't expecting. And I feel like we've been hit with that a little bit this year. Yeah,
bit of that. But, for me, it's not so much the bad luck. I mean, I can put it down to having Dom Young when he, got sent off for that minus 15 and a lot of other stuff. But it's more just me just making poor decisions on a week-to-week basis, sit v starts, or the guy that I sell over another guy and just getting that wrong. Not necessarily the people I'm buying. The people I've bought have gone all right, but the people I've sold have cost me more than the people that I've not bought, if that makes sense. So, should have held on to some of them that I've let go. But for this weekend, as I was back to where I was, it was decided I couldn't get Manu anymore, gave up on the head-to-heads. Karaz came out and put up a ridiculous score, and I was like, there's no chance. I don't have Karaz, as well. And then Val Holmes came out and put up his score. And then I started reassessing and going, hold on a second. I'm a chance I could possibly win these. And one of them was a $500 one was a $200, and there was a $100 one. So I won the $200 one, but the $100 and the $500 one were kind of bigger payouts. That sounds weird. It's only a 10-man $200 league.
Yeah, right.
So with that, I then went, I've got to, maybe attack. I can catch up. So, brought Lomax in for Errol, which was tough because, you can say like people have, but Lomax is a good buy. He's good. He's going to do good for you. But Errol's a sucky sell. I don't want to sell him. He's going to kill me over the next 3 weeks. And, I potentially could have sold someone like Burbo in my side for a Manu. Or if I just held off, had I known I was going to lose my head-to-head, I could have, sold Burbo with the money I freed up from CLEARY as well and got absolutely anyone I want this week and stuff. But just very disappointed because, the head-to-head's dead and I'm now in a crappier situation for overall. I've now got only 2 trades. One of them's going to potentially be to deal with CLEARY And then there's going to be a lot of carnage in round 26 with restings, and then more restings in 27. So I'm going to just not be able to deal with something. And, I feel like it's going to come at a cost to my rank. So I'm at 2,700 now. Say I could have finished 2-5. It might end up being, 3-5 or 4 if it, if I can't cover that one extra position.
And that's okay. I think you got over in that 200, which is more than what you would have done, which I think is a positive, in my opinion. I think you were quite close in a lot of cash comps. You're waiting on updates.
Yeah, I was behind by 1 point in both of the ones that I really cared about. Yeah.
And then you're waiting on Ponga updates. He downdated. Lomax updates. He did update, but Ponga downdated too much. Tough times.
But do you know what it was that cost me? And this is what burns me the most. It was a tough week last week, just the stress of going through it all. But the biggest stressful week for me was that couple of weeks ago when do I sell Galvin, do I sell Jaden Campbell, or do I sell Dylan Brown to get Ponga or Turbo? And it was, Jaden Campbell to Turbo was the only combination to get Turbo. Just should have done that. That was the ultimate one. And I think I knew that. But when it came down to it, looking back on it, I was like, if I get Ponga, I can have extra depth. I can create extra depth. I've gone against that now because I've sold a keeper for a keeper instead of what I planned to do, which was selling Burbo to Manu. So I should have just gone back to, I've cost myself that much that I could have just done that and I'd be in the same situation. And I'm just real down on myself and real angry and frustrated. But I've made some positive thoughts that, next year I'm just going to be more decisive and I'm going to be ruthless. And, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to trade like a beast. It just means, what I do, I'm going to be confident in. And
don't second guess yourself.
I'm still going to toss and turn throughout the week, but once I've made it in, locked it in, I'm also going to log a journal, like a proper journal week to week of my decision processes, so I can go back and go, okay, yeah, that's why you did that and that. Even if I can look back at it and go, maybe I needed to learn something from that, that might be something, but at least some of the times I look back and go, why did I do that this year? And I don't even know why. Because I can't even get back to what my thought process was in round 8 or whatever. So going to log a journal and just sort of try keep the mental thoughts down there rather than up here because it's been scattered for SuperCoach.
Well, yeah, I think all your thoughts have come across in the chat and we've tried to give you advice and you just never take it on properly because your brain's so scrambled. And then by the end of the weekend, you're like, I should have done this. So I think going into next year with a clear mind, I think what you have to do, get some sage in the house and just burn it everywhere.
I've actually lit a fair bit of that. I can't say the word properly. It's like Paliseo wood or I can't. It's like sage, but it's a wood. But I lit that with my, it was in a negative form with the pins that I had in my bobblehead of Tommy Turbo. I put some pins in his hammy, hoping to cause some sort of. I did some sort of real.
Was this
my attempt of black magic?
Was this
last weekend?
Burning stuff? Was it called Keenan?
It is similar to that, like Palicento or something.
Palicento. Yeah. Well, I guess myself 14:30. Captain Tom Trebojevic obviously wasn't the captain of the weekend. I think, Tedesco only scored 20 more points, so I'm not too fussed about that. I'm pretty happy that I went with Turbo. Turbo still did well. But the guy of the weekend, Val Holmes. 145, hat-trick. I think we talked about this last week with... out
of nowhere, really. I didn't expect it. Yeah, I wasn't banking on it.
No, but we talked about this last week in our NRL show that we've got to look for omens like this, and Val Holmes just signed a contract with another club. He was always destined to come out and at least score one try.
Yeah, in my mind, I sort of thought, the contract's signed now. He's already got the deal. I went the other way. In my head, I was like, probably doesn't need to play out of his skin, I
think it depends on the situation. Yeah. If the player is...
repaying the repaying the club and saying, look,
Yeah, like Val Holmes, he's proven. He doesn't need to prove himself. I think when he signed the contract, it's more of a statement saying... yeah, I'm coming out and I'm showing that I'm committed to this club for the rest of the season. Whereas someone like, let's say Tavita Pangai Jr., before he signs a contract, he could play out of his skin. But once he signs a contract, gets complacent. And he's the type of player who, kind of needs to prove himself to people for people to give him reassurance. And
I'm just thinking about everyone loves the shit on TPJ.
Yeah.
I know he's got some credentials to maybe
it's not my point anyway, but we talked about it last week with the Brayleys. We tried to look for that omen, 2 try scorers in a match. What can we look at this weekend, omen-wise?
Well, there was one last week. There was 2 fee guys and 2 couchmans, 2 sets of twins playing in the one game. Stop flexing, bro. That's coming through on the camera too. Doing double peckies. Yeah. Relax, was it chest day?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, relax, man. You're intimidating me. I'm just trying to sit over here and talk Supercoach.
Yeah, Karaz, 121 points. It just seemed like all these players, Dom Young as well, a lot of teams didn't have one of these guys.
Yeah.
I had all of these guys, and I think the double fullback really helped as well. And captaining one of these fullbacks.
Well, what cost you, though? Because
Dylan Brown.
Yeah.
30 points.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly.
What did he score?
34.
Oh, I'm sick of these 30s, man.
Same.
I get them, getting them week in, week out. And Dylan Brown, looking back on that one, looking at the other options in hindsight, I go, why did I play Dylan Brown? But I just looked at him and went, he's going to score 60. He always scores 60. And the others, I kind of made a case for they could get 45s, 50. So, but they had more upside. I didn't really think that Dylan had the upside in that Roosters game, but then they have been leaky.
I didn't, but I was looking at the last few weeks, few matchups with him versus the Roosters. It was 80 and 88 in his last 2 matchups.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the Roosters haven't really. They're not any better at defence.
This is why I want a journal to jog every decision. My sit first starts. I can look back and go, oh, this is why I did this. This was my thought process then.
And like me with Brian Kelly, deep in my heart, I knew the St. George matchup at Wynn Stadium wasn't a great one. I just thought he could get over for a try. I could have just played the safe option, match everyone else with Marju. I was already having a good week. I shouldn't have messed it up. I got greedy, tried to go a bit higher. But I guess at the same time, I've got to take them type of risks to try and get as high as I can at the same time. So 1430, went up to 23rd overall. But the big talking point of the weekend is Nathan Cleary down injured. As a Panthers fan, how do you feel? He's due to be back for the final series and it should be a sufficient enough rest. Apparently, he was carrying this injury already anyway. It dislocated on the field and then went back in. So they can manage it without surgery. I think it is a very good... If it just feels like... So this could go one or two ways.
He's already had his rest. It's not great.
This could go one or two ways. So he comes back, gets Penrith to this final series, then he's already going to be a future immortal, in my opinion.
When he comes back, they'll already be in the final series.
Grand final. Take him to a grand final win. He's already going to be a future immortal, in my opinion, but I think this will take him to another level if he takes the Panthers to a 4th in a row. If he doesn't, and he doesn't quite get the shoulder right, well, then I think this is a massive chance for Jerome Luai to maybe solidify his case as, a Hall of Famer in the future, or, maybe immortal things can be done in the future, but we'll talk about that in the NRL show, I guess. But Supercoach-wise, we'll talk about the options. But first, after everything we've already gone through, who am I? Are you ready?
Yep.
102 points, 52 points, 69 points, 63 points.
Hold on, you start from the top, the bottom.
Yeah, top. 63 points, 90 points, 70 points, 75 points, 72 points, 60 points, 65 points, and 93 points on the weekend. Who am I?
93 on the weekend. I was trying to think about who scored 102 in the first round, but that might not be the first round, but 93 on the weekend.
That's not the first round. I've got another stat then. I'm averaging 62.4 for the season.
It's going to be a halfback, I think.
It's not.
It's not. I thought it would be just because halfbacks are sort of topical. Is it a 5'8"?
That would have been smart.
Yeah, I just thought because they were topical of replacements for Nathan. That's where I was just trying to get more clues out here.
I'm the second highest averaging person in my position at 62.4.
The position. So maybe it's a hooker?
It's a hooker.
Second highest averaging. Didn't we do Little last week? Is it Little?
It's Little. We didn't do Little last week, but I did a post on him.
Oh, so that's why I felt like, I've been down
That's
this
why
path
you felt
before.
like you did it.
Yeah.
I've got one more quickly.
Yep.
Who am I? My average this year is 57.8. I was a very good purchase option in round 18 after I'd scored 62, 93, 53, 48, 79, 76, 62, 57, 64, 84 consecutively. But then after I was a massive option and the Masters traded me in, my scores since have been 25, 39, 41, 23, and 30.
Oh, this one feels like it should be obvious because...
I am a hooker.
Okay, the masses. The masses.
I wouldn't say the masses. Don't.
Is it Harry?
No.
Yeah.
So by the masses, I went from 8% to 14% owned.
What was the last score that he had again?
30.
30.
Against the Dolphins.
Oh, now this is like stupidly obvious. He played the Finns last week.
I'm Reed Marnie.
We
We need to move on. All right. So halfbacks for the run home. I've got a list of options here. And firstly, if you have trades, then this is a chat for you. But for myself, I'm happy with my depth. I don't need to trade this week. And, Cleary being out is just a good thing for my side because my depth is so strong. But halfbacks for the run home, we're going to go through the top options. We'll go through all the options, talk about them, and then we'll kind of try and rank them.
Halfbacks 5'8", I guess, too, because you've got a lot of dual flexibility as well there.
Potentially. I've just gone through halfbacks, but then we can throw up some 5'8". So
sure.
DCE is the number one traded in player this week. He plays the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and the Sharks. Let's look at it from a projections point of view. So plays the Tigers this week, 100 points I've projected. And that's with potential to go 120, 130. That's with potential to go 80.
Potential to also go 70s. There's an element that the Tigers just, this perfect matchup that looks like.
Yes. It is at Leichhardt Oval.
Yeah.
But this is just my predictions.
Yep. But I think this one will be more on the upper side than the others. Yeah.
But then we can look at the projections versus the other ones and then make a decision. Then he plays the Bulldogs and the Sharks, who are a top 5-6 side, 60-60. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, could be on the lower side.
Could be on the lower side.
Yeah.
That's 220 points over 3 weeks. Sam Walker plays the Titans, the Raiders, and South Sydney. I've projected 90 versus the Titans, 80 versus the Raiders, and 80 versus Souths.
Yep, I'm just going to throw out that potential,
it's not going to be that. But
no, the restings that's been whispered by the whisperer.
For the Roosters in round 26.
He's saying around 26.
Well, that's the risk you take.
According to his sources.
Compared to DC is 220 points over 3 weeks. If he was to score that'd be 250. And he's got some pretty good matchups, whereas DC doesn't in the last 2 weeks. Jerome Luai is a massive option. Raiders, Rabbitohs, Titans. Now, I think with the Nathan Cleary injury, I think Panthers maybe don't rest. They don't want to lose that second spot because the Roosters...
Feels 50-50 to me.
Yeah, the Roosters are breathing down their neck, but the Penrith do have the luxury to do so. Raiders, I've predicted 90. Rabbitohs, 85. Titans, 85. Maybe I'm just projecting a bit up, but I'm just going off his sample size without Cleary already. That's 260 points. That's only 10 points more than what I predicted Sam Walker. But I think Sam Walker's range is probably a lot higher than what he can potentially score. Matt Burton, Warriors, Manly, Cowboys. Warriors, 80. Manly, 60. Cowboys, 70. That's 210 points. So I'm ruling him out as an option. Just
he's probably my pick.
I don't think he has a ceiling. That's my thing. And he's playing Manly and the Cowboys in the last 2 weeks.
For me, I'm nowhere near locked into picking a halfback. I might not even get a halfback in this week. I might just sort of adjust next week and see if Nico comes back and just see if because if I'm not overly sure which halfback to go this week for me, and I'm not, I think this week the standout option for a 1 week thing is DCE, but and I don't think he's going to rest either, but I don't really like him for the last couple of games. So I'm thinking just potentially, hold off this week, play the best of the whatever else you got in your side, and then see next week once potential mass restings in round 26 when you've got rumoured by the Cheese that the Storm will mass rest, rumoured by the Whisperer that the Roosters will mass rest, the Tigers on the bye. So if you're a Galvin, Appy, you maybe got Fainus and Porters or whatever you got there, I don't know. That could be chaos. So for me, I don't have any Tigers, but I wish I had a Galvin, but not that week. That's why I sold the bugger, because I was worried about this mass resting week here. But we'll say for me, I might end up looking and going, well, if I've got Sam Walker here and he's playing, but I don't have now, whatever position's getting rested, you know what I mean? And then deal with that next week, which might be like CT Dub, I think is more of an upside position. I'm kind of like, if I'm just going to make a trade for the sake of making a trade, maybe I trade in centre wing and strengthen my centre wing up rather than, that. But I'm not ruling it out yet, but I don't think I'm locked into one. But if I was going to jump on one this week, at this point, my mind's Matt Burton, because I don't reckon they're going to rest. But then I looked at it and thought, well, if the Sharks just, say, lose a couple and then they win the next two, it might get to a point where maybe they're locked into fourth. I mean, it's probably unlikely. But, yeah, I'm just trying to find the guy who's definitely not going to... It sucked to get a guy for 2 or 3 weeks if you're doing those projection sort of things. And, maybe the 2 of them you get him for... One of them's the game you actually wanted him more for when he rests sort of thing. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
There's 2 ways you can look at this. I think from one lens, if you've got trades, you're in head-to-head finals.
Yeah, if you want to deal with
DC
that.
is the guy to get this week. And if you want to get in the finals and get a piece of that cash for the shares, because most...
For head-to-head, yes, because do you know why? You go, but he's got a crap game against the Dogs next week. You don't need DCE to do the job for you against the Dogs, like get the big score. You just need him to, get a 50, 60, whatever, that's fine. And let other guys in your side that week who have better matchups excel, where if you bring in DC this week for the win to make the GF, that's a great move.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is with all these guys... All of them have barely averaged over 70, like any season ever. So I think we've got to look at that and just kind of think their upside is there, but consistently it is not there. And over the last 3 games, they probably can average more. Most of them probably will, but I think compared to guns in other positions that you might not have. So like you don't have a Karaz who's playing the Warriors. Karaz and Burton have the same draws, and I guess Burton's probably smart for you if you don't have Karaz, because at least if the Bulldogs put on a lot of points, you've got a piece of that. But I think you are better off going guns in other positions rather than getting a halfback spot, which has always been Hines and Cleary. And I get 900k sitting on your bench is not good, but maybe your thought process of just waiting it out, see if Hines can come back for the last 2 weeks or something like that, or just see if you can make a pod play if you don't have someone in that position.
Another reason to jump on, though, a full halfback, if you say you got 2 trades left, maybe not like 1, maybe you don't have to do it this week, but maybe you've got like 2, 3, you just jump on one of them that you like the most. Then he's still a main playmaker, setting up tries. In a good game, he'll have his hands on the ball and potentially set up tries, and it's still a guy you want on your side, right? But I lost my train of thought here. The point being, I don't know what I was going to say. Fucking hell. Jeez, I feel like I was onto something good though. Press on.
Righto.
I'll try to get back to it.
So who do you rate? Like, I think the thing is for me, I was actually going to say this before, but you rambled on for ages.
Yeah.
The the trade I did, Hughes to DCE.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, can I jump in now that I remember?
because I lost my train of thought before.
Yeah, all right, cool. I'll try bank it.
Yeah, try and bank it.
Yeah.
That netted me 15 points. Now, in hindsight, it's a bad trade. You told me at the time, and I told you that Campbell to Turbo was the trade you should have done back then. So we should have listened to each other back then. But I think the thing is now, having Hughes and DC in your side, I think would be a massive trump card. And I'm ruling out Hughes completely as an option just because he has the potential resting of round 26. But I do like his draw either side of it. I like his draw versus the Dolphins and the Broncos. So I'd be quite happy if I had trades. I had Cleary and Hughes, which I would have with that trade that you told me to hold. I'd be going to DCE this week. I think that's 100% what I'd be doing. There is also the factor of maybe Ben Hunt, Sharks, Para, and Raiders in the last three. But I think that's where my head is at. I'm not a Sam Walker guy. I don't think DCE rests. Luai, the matchups are good, but no goal kicking there.
Yeah, so my point was, if you do have like a couple of trades, and you're not that like sold on just like, I think a halfback's going to be the mad position to have. There's only two of them. So at least something happens to the other one. At least you've got that guy as a backup. You don't want to have none. And that's a potential. You know what I mean? So 3 rounds to go. Something happens this round. At least you got one there. If you use your other trade elsewhere and you only have the guy who might be Sam Walker gets an injury this week, then you've got no halfbacks for the next 2 weeks. So at least if you've plugged in that other one, you've got a backup guy there, which, kind of just goes to, what you were saying, though. I think you could look at Hughes if you think Hughes is a great option, either side of round 27. And if you were a DCE owner and you don't think DCE is going to rest that week, maybe you don't need them both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So looking at it that way, like it depends on your depth too. Like if I'm stressing about my side because I've got lack of depth. I'm holding guys like Burbo and 2 plotters in the prop and a shocky second hooker. I guess in
that case, you're probably best off making trades as the depth is tested. So, like, if you're playing 17 players and one of them you don't really want to play, then that's where you make a trade. But if you can play 17 players confidently and you're happy with your side, maybe just hold the trade for another week because if your team is struggling this week, then next week you're going to be tested even further. Yeah,
it can be hard. I mean, it depends, though. If you look at the guy that you might potentially bring in at, say, halfback this week versus your 4th reserve, and you go, oh, geez, he does look a lot more appealing than player X. You know what I mean? Whoever that might be. And you are in your, decided to make the grand final or whatever it is, or you've got 3 rounds left to try and win SuperCoach, you're kind of thinking, I just want to get as most points as I can, potentially. Yeah. You want to avoid the carnage as well. But, maybe you do get sucked in and tempted by it. But, I don't mind both sort of avenues. You could if you've got more than a couple of trades up your sleeve and you've got a couple of emergencies for that last round or whatever, then, you could just attack at centre wing and get one of them and avoid that second halfback. But I think if you're struggling for trades and you still feel like you need to strengthen your side, but you've only got 1 or 2 trades, maybe you do still get a second halfback because you might need that backup.
Righto. Moving on, I guess bottom line, if you have trades and you are head-to-head, which most people are at this time of year, there's not many people people still want their overall rank to be as good as possible.
I reckon heaps of people are more over, there'll be people playing over like a head-to-head, maybe they've got a couple of cashies, maybe a lot of people don't,
Yeah.
And they might just be playing with their, bragging rights ones that are head-to-head, but their main thing is still they want to finish with that mad fight, wherever the best they can with their rank. So I don't think that if you're not in the top 100 or whatever, overall's dead. I think that's ridiculous. I think everyone's still trying to finish the best they can.
I still think DC is the best option because he has the matchup this week and that 150, if he does, sorry.
Yeah.
That's assuming he has a massive game. If he scores 150 against the Tigers, then that one score is going to outweigh any score.
I'm not feeling it. Hey, like I'm real big this week on. You definitely go if you're a Teddy Turbo guy. You go Teddy 100%. I really feel like Teddy's a way better option. I just think it's a day game.
2 p.m. on the Sunday. Yeah,
the Tigers. I feel like
we will talk about the captain.
The Titans are all like pretty much now got a line through them too. You know what I mean? And maybe anything they had, like the Tigers, I still feel like they're trying to play for next year. You know what I mean? Like I know that every club is, and probably Desi will still try get things right for next year and stuff. But there's just something about the Tigers that turn up, and they're a little bit hard to sort of like. They look like they're easy, but they still sort of hang around and don't let teams punish them too much. Saying that, Ponga put 124 on them a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know. It's a gut vibe for me this week, so I'm just really feeling the Tigers. I'm not going to beat them, but I'm not too scared about Turbo this week.
They also lost. They also beat the Rabbitohs, who are decimated with injuries and are 15th on the ladder. So I don't think it's actually.
I'm not looking into that. As last week as a performance, because they had a win that they're.
Yeah. The Thursday night curse is a thing. We'll talk about it in captains, but I'm still willing to take the punt on Manly players. But if you are going to have a punt, head over to picklebet.com.au, use the code TURBO when signing up. That is an omen. Make sure to know what you're really gambling with for free and confidential support. Call 1-800-858-858. This Cleary injury, repercussions of this, it's the halfbacks. Obviously, we've spoken about that, but a hot topic in relation to that is, if you don't have a Turbo, you've got Tedesco, and you're searching for another fullback. I think a point of difference could be Dylan Edwards. He scores without Nathan Cleary, 111, 120, 113, 69 and 63 with a 95.2 average goal kicking. I think them last two, 69 and 63, was without the goal kicking because he was coming back from injury. But they've got a good draw. If you think Luai's draw is good with the Raiders, Rabbitohs and Titans, then Edwards is Edwards has more upside and is probably safer with the goal kicking. I think Edwards is a great trade in this.
So are you you're saying if you're not a Turbo owner and you do own Teddy, so you're basically saying people should sell Ponga to? Is that what you're implying, or if you're not because I don't think you should sell Ponga. Like you've had the tougher games. They're not harder games.
The what?
The tougher of the tougher games of the when people bought him like for this 5-week gap. The last two have been harder than the next three that are coming. Though you are underwhelmed by what he has scored the last 2 weeks compared to Turbo, I think that these are the games we've really, got excited for. So I know that there was the Tigers one there a couple of weeks ago too.
Ponga's been brilliant, I reckon. I reckon he was dangerous on the weekend, and I wouldn't be selling him. I think he's got the Rabbitohs this week, and he's got a good draw coming up. And they need to make finals. He's a goal kicker.
It's hard to know who would get. Who would you have still that you would? You know what I mean?
I just think if you're in a position where you've got no second fullback and you're ready to go now, I think Edwards is the guy. But I wouldn't be trading one of these other guys to go to Edwards because I don't think the difference is going to be that much. And Dylan Edwards historically isn't that higher upside guy. So the fact that the Ponga, Teddy, Turbos have this 150 ceiling, Edwards does have that, but these other guys can hit it more regularly. So I wouldn't be doing that. But if you are behind and you want to look for a pod option, I don't mind it. And I think without Cleary, I also think the Edwards play is probably more around buying him in round 5 when other fullbacks have a tricky draw and he's got a good draw coming up and Cleary's out, and you've got him for 5-6 weeks. I think that sample size is a lot better to go off
I'd like to own him at some point, but I just can't see with the lack of upside. But maybe he's the guy that you need to plug in, and when other guys do have tough draws, and maybe his draw's not that amazing, but he gets the consistency done. But I don't know. I love him as a footy player, just not for me. He does get 9. He's the second. What is he? The second highest averaging? I'm shitting on him.
He's actually fallen down to 24th highest scoring overall player, which is crazy because he was one for ages when he was injured still. The top traded in this week: Cherry Evans, Sam Walker, Luai, Hughes, which reflects on the Cleary injury. Dominic Young, I think he's someone you need in your side if you don't have, because I think he's one of the rare high upside centre wings that can go 150 plus that can burn you from here on out.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks because you will be matching a lot of people. You want to be looking for that pod guy, but he's going to hurt you more than he's not. James Tedesco, Tom Trbojevic, Karaz, Burden, and Lomax. The top 10 pretty much speaks for itself. But Timmy, we need to do a bit of reflecting right now. So I want you to tell me off the top of your head, probably let's try and go for 2, 3, maybe 4 players that we think. So every year, I think if you don't have one player, it burns the hell out of you. I think we can already say which players are on the top of our head, but what handful of players do you think, if you haven't had this season, it's hurt you?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's never been I feel like I'm struggling to identify him, and that might be why I'm not doing as crash hot. But I feel like there has been, in past years, you've got to have this guy and you've got to have that guy. But the fullbacks have been changing at different points in the year.
There's been one constant though. That's Tedesco.
Teddy, yeah, true. I feel like because he's come in and out though, because we've had him come in and out of our sides, as well. I think that was just. Oh, we didn't. When did we pick? Because we didn't play the Origin.
Prior to Origin, so he's been in our side since before round 13 for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So he's been there throughout the whole season, and he's been one of the highest.
I'd love to know when I picked him up, because I feel like I haven't had him all year. I feel like there was a bit of a journey before getting to him.
I started with Tedesco, which is crazy, but he with him, I started with him and then I sold him the week before he scored 130 for Turbo. I lost like 50 points out of it. It's fine. That's a decision that really burnt me. But I got him back after round 13. I wasn't going to get him for round 13 when he got dropped for Origin, but then Dylan Edwards had an injury and then he got called into the Origin camp. So I was kissed on the you-know-what in round 13 because he missed out. But I bought him straight after that. And I think since then, James Tedesco's scores since round 13. If you haven't had him, you've probably struggled to win head-to-heads and win a lot of matchups. But since round 13, he's gone. So in round 12, 151. Round 15, 98. Round 16, 84. Round 17, 116. Round 18, 149. Round 20, 33. Round 21, 126. Round 22, 52, and round 24, 125. So he scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tons already this season.
Fullback's been a funny spot, hasn't it? There's been a few with the cheapies that people have sort of been tempted by, which have taken up one spot. There was the
Fletcher Sharp,
Fuller,
Trey Fuller.
Yeah, those two guys.
I think.
There was all different, trying different guys like Walsh and Drinky at different points and all that sort of stuff, other than the main sort of guys who have arrived at now. I reckon the ones that sort of stand out for me is probably just getting to those gun second rowers, because we had a lot of those everyone started with those guys that we all thought were going to be amazing.
Pickora, Wong, Lane.
Score above what they should be, and then trying to get rid of them. And then I think just sort of getting, your Fafitas, Olokawatus, Eli Katoa, Nikaras, those guys, they're pretty standout names that have been consistent, and there haven't been too many, potty ones that have, there's been guys that have kind of been all right at points, but there hasn't been, too many wild, weird ones.
That's probably what I did early on in the season. Eli Katoa was in my side very early, so was Olakawatu, and I had them 3 guys in my side pretty early on. I was pretty happy with that, and I think one is Valentine Holmes. Starting with him or Lomax, it was really crucial, but I think Valentine Holmes at this back end.
Yeah, he's also been a bit annoying at times too.
He has, but
actually with these guys, you just got to stick with him throughout it. Hey, rather than if Val's not doing it, you just got to try ride him, and this can be the time the guys that you save go back to the old school saying you've never trade a keeper, and maybe we need to bring a little bit of that mentality back to. The modern day SuperCoach.
100%. Valentine Holmes is someone who he's turned up against sides. You probably weren't looking at the matchup against your head-to-head thinking...
This one, no way. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't even look. I was a bit like, he might hurt me this week. I think you even said in a chat you might have thought about sitting him at one point.
I legit thought of sitting him because I thought Raiders would come back after 2 poor performances.
Marked by Timico, you kind of think, solid enough there. Yeah.
Barnesy actually said in another chat that Valentine Holmes was someone he was happy not to have because he didn't scare him, and it was like he felt comfortable not having because he didn't scare him.
Well, I felt like that a lot of times by him, but it's only because he burnt me so much last year because that's how I felt about him. And he'd come out and he'd put up this like one sort of close to 150 sort of score where you're like, what?
That's exactly why I didn't sell him, because he did this last year. And I think with sample sizes, I think it'll be different at the Dragons next year. You can't really expect players to replicate what they do at the same club.
There may be less attacking flair or whatever, but,
might have more base or something.
I don't know. I can still see him going all right.
I think so too.
It might be a bit of a funny one to start with. I don't know.
We'll have to reassess next year. Yeah. I think Jacob Carraz is back end of the season. For me, I feel like if I didn't have him...
He's kind of the one centre winger that I don't have that I'm scared not to have. Yeah.
And I think these other fullbacks, like Tom Trebojevic, I think has been one of the guys who has
take him or leave him, to be honest.
All right. Cool. We're going to listen to some voice recorded messages from some of our Instagram followers. We put out the call this morning, and a lot of people actually just asked questions. I answered some of them, but I'm going to read out, play the voice messages. So we're here. All right, here we go. This is from Jane Horton.
Hey guys, I need to win this week in my head-to-head to go into grand final glory. I've got 4 trades and a boost left. I was just wondering who your top 3 pods would be for this week to get a leg up on my opponent. Thanks.
That's a great question.
I reckon maybe we scratch the word pod because it's more about who, like, it'd be great to know who a head-to-head opponent doesn't have.
Yeah.
Because then you don't need to be looking for players that are 5% owned if they don't have, like a Jacob Kiraz or a Dom Young or, someone like that. So, look, it's hard to know without looking at it, but let's maybe throw up a handful of names and she can sort of go through and see maybe from that which he might not have. But we can also look for some pods which he was asking for, like if...
Yeah, I think the first one that jumps to mind, obviously the Manly matchup versus the Tigers, Jason Saab. I think the outside backs for... against the Tigers have always scored well. I like Jason Saab, but maybe you don't have to go as potty as that. You can go Daly Cherry Evans.
Yeah. If you wanted to get a half in for 1 week, which they need to deal with sort of thing. Yeah, and as we said, she doesn't need to rely on Daly Cherry Evans next week against the Dogs to have a massive one, provided, she's going to have 16 other players in her side, and there's probably a handful of them that have got that big 100 in them based on their matchup. So maybe he's a good one there for a halfback. I do like, as much as I have said, I've got a gut feeling that it might not be lights out amazing for the Manly SuperCoach scoring, just because I'm hoping the Tigers can rally. Could be more hopeful than anything. But, yeah, I think let's look at later some of those later day games too. And
Bulldogs versus Warriors, 6 p.m, Connor Tracy. He has the big upside.
CT Dub, she can sneak him in at, yeah.
He has the big upside. And, by the way...
will be a massive pod too.
By the way, props on having 4 trades with a boost left. I think one thing to note, don't make 2 trades if you don't have to this week. But also, don't...
She might make 3.
Don't be afraid.
She's got a boost.
It's true. Don't be afraid to die with the boost, because I feel like you don't need to use a boost when you only have 4 trades left. So if you use 1 trade this week, the boost is still in the equation for next week to see how you're going in your head-to-head finals.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. Who else? I'm looking at the Roosters, and I feel like you've got a lot of people. Oh, holy crap! This didn't even click. So
I'm not even aware of Team Wish. I have not even looked at Team Wish yet because of the rush to get here.
Right. So this is massive.
Yeah.
So 2 of the top 5 ranked super coaches have Connor Watson. He's out this week.
Yeah.
And I was looking for that, and I think Connor Watson's a great one. But
is he definitely out this week?
Yeah, he's not named.
Oh, okay. We haven't looked at the Team Wish.
Yeah, he's not even named on the extended, so he's definitely out.
Sure.
I would have liked him this week as a hooker option, to be honest. But, if you haven't got Joey Manu, Dom Young, maybe you can look at a Suoli'i against the Tigers. I probably wouldn't look at any of these Sharks players. I've got one.
It's a bit weird, but I wouldn't do it because it's a fullback. But I reckon Sharp could be in for another, 3-4 try performance against the Bunnies, going up against Fletcher Myers, bit speedier than him. But you couldn't do it.
Cameron Munster against the Dolphins at home.
Yeah, I'm not feeling him.
You're not feeling him?
Yeah, he had a mad game. He looked good on the eye test. Well, I don't know what his score was. I was really impressed by Wishart. And you remember we were sort of saying that Cam Munster's got to play like Wishart. Wishart sort of came on there and just did that show and go, and it was good play.
Selwyn Cobbo's back he's playing the Parramatta Eels. Maybe Adam Reynolds with Reece Walsh out. Adam Reynolds will demand a bit more ball. Adam Reynolds could be a good Potter option. Goal kicking in the halfback spot. We know Adam Reynolds, he has a ceiling. He could score 100 in the next 3 matchups.
Yeah, it feels risky. To bring
risky
to bring him in for a head-to-head grand final. Yeah, and then just to have him as your guy. He's been pretty injury prone, and if there is any niggle, they don't need to roll him out with the running. With the side having nothing to play with in the last couple of rounds. Yeah, I'm just looking at guys like I just reckon because for me I don't have Carraz, so if she doesn't have Carraz. I reckon get Carraz, yeah.
All right, we got another voice message here.
Because watching him last week, sorry to keep jabbering on about it, but just like the 2 tries, but then I was like, all right, as long as he doesn't score anymore, I don't know if that was picked up on the mic, but I'm sure that the visuals were for people at home. He was, whatever. Just the amount of offloads, man. He was doing that Lomax sort of double runs within a set, and he just too much work, man. So I'd be getting him.
All right, we got one more voice message here. Do you want to put your earphones on?
Hey lads, love the show. Lomax or Toto for the run home. Cheers.
Did you hear that?
I just heard cheers.
Hey lads, love the show. Lomax or Toto for the run home. Cheers.
I love Toto all this back end of the season, but with the Cleary injury, and he's now moved back to the left side, I'm not scared of him anymore. I think Lomax is the guy for sure.
Yeah, I'd go Lomax too.
All right, that's it for the voice messages, and now we're moving on to trades. What are you doing this week?
Probably going to sit on my hands at this point. There is only one head-to-head I'm alive in, and I'm not really too worried about it. If I win or lose it, I'm not trying to, make trades to win that. I just want to make the right decisions for the last couple of rounds, and I do think there is going to be big carnage. Restings next week, and then there'll be restings the final week. So with only 2 trades, I reckon I'll assess next week. Hopefully, maybe if Nico's back, that might be a way to go, I think, for me, and I'll feel good about it. 2 games before finals. Hopefully with a bit of rest, he's sorted his mental game out and can just get out there and play some good footy. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I'll just sit on my hands as well.
You've got no hands to sit on, mate.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at the moment. But tipping point. Oh, I haven't even said the players, but I'm pretty sure we can pluck them out of a hat.
Yeah.
Tipping point. 2-2 last week. So Ponga, I went under 80, and I also went under 80 for Cleary, I'm pretty sure. And
I think you went under 70 or something, under 75 maybe, I don't know.
76.
Yeah.
76. And then I went over 100 and... I haven't got it.
You went over 125 for Turbo, I went under.
Yep.
I went over 100 for Teddy. You went under.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I went under 100 for Teddy and went over 125 for Turbo, which, for Turbo, I'm sure you're looking at that with 20 minutes ago thinking, shit.
Yeah, I was, but yeah, I was watching my head-to-head a bit more close this week. I wasn't too worried about it.
That's fair. So that takes us to 17-14. You're still in it, and we've. I think a lot of people want to see me go to Macca's for the 24-hour.
Me too. The more and more I've thought about it, I really don't want this Captaincy. I've sort of just been growing my hair a little bit, and it'd just be.
I really want to see you in the Captaincy.
Yeah.
I'm very keen.
I don't really want to have to do it.
This week we'll do DCE because he's the number one traded in player this week. We'll do James. We do James Tedesco every week. How about let's just do the halfbacks? So Cherry Evans, Walker, Luai, and Hughes.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep.
All right, so Cherry Evans versus the Tigers. I'll start the line at 70 points.
70 points. Okay, I'll go over 70 and I'll go to 75.
I'll go over 75 and go 82.
What? 82?
82.
82. I'll go over 82 and go to 85.
I'll go over 85 and go to 90.
I'll go over 90 and I'll go to 95.
Ooh. I'll go over 95 and go to 96.
I'll take unders. I was just trying to push you as hard as I could, bro. I was like just going one more. I reckon you would have gone to maybe a hunch, but
No, I wasn't going to go to 100.
I felt when I was at 85, I'm like, I can't believe I'm on over 85. I really want to be on the unders.
Oh.
I really want to be on the unders there. Just because
I'm happy with that.
Go the Tigers.
Jerome Hughes
Jerome
versus
Hughes.
the Dolphins. Amy Park, 7:30.
What are you setting the line at?
Set the line at 60.
I'll go over 60 and go to 65.
I'll go to over 65 and go to 70.
Interesting. Over 70. I'll take over 72. I don't like this giving up thing on the fives that you indicated last week. It does sort of show your hand, doesn't it?
Well, I know I told you that last week, so
it really does.
I did it with DCE. I did
At
82, but I still went up 14 points.
Yeah.
So, what'd you say?
I said
74?
no. I said over 72.
I'll go under.
All right.
Jerome Luai versus the Raiders, 3 p.m. Saturday. Set the line at 55.
I'll go over 55 and go to 60.
I'll go over 60 and go 70.
I'll go over 70 and go to 75.
I'll go under 75.
Good.
How high were you going to go there?
I was going to go pretty high.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. You're playing this really good. And then we'll go Sam Walker versus the Titans. You can set the line because you're an owner.
Can we just get a recap on what we're at?
So DCE, I've gone over 96. You've gone under. Hughes, I've gone under 72. You've gone over. Luai, 75. I've gone under. You've gone over. I'm a bit worried about them too, to be honest. I'm also a bit worried you pushed me a bit high on DCE.
And who's the player of interest now?
Sam Walker. You set the line.
And I will set the line at 55.
I'll go over 55 and go 75.
I'll go over 75 and go over 76.
I'll go over 76 and go 78.
I'll go over 78 and I'll go to over 80.
I'll go under. How high were you going to go there?
Didn't want to go too much higher. I've got a feeling, though, it's a day game, and I think it could be... Especially because he had
I think Sam Walker does better in night games. Maybe just because they only play night games.
I don't know. I just think last weekend he was kind of... The weather wasn't ideal for him. You can still be tricky with his little kicks and stuff.
I thought it worked for him. Like the short kicking game for the ball holding up.
Yeah, no, I don't reckon.
That Tupanua try was a good try.
Had a lower score, and I reckon this is the good one. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I didn't really want to go much higher, though, to be honest. I wanted to sort of be have as much room to play.
All right, DCE over 96 I went, you went under. Hughes, I went under 72, you went over. Luai, under 75 I went, you went over. And Walker, I went under 80. Captains, I think the Tommy matchup makes sense. And I think if you want to be aggressive in your head-to-heads, I think it's one of two guys. It's either Tommy or Teddy this week. But I'm looking at that 2 p.m. day game at Cbus, and Teddy is hard to go past. But I'm still going Turbo.
Yeah, you can just put it up and it's there and bang. I think if you're going to do it, you captain, because then you don't want to, have that mad score and then have to take away from that mad score by affecting an auto emergency in your side. Even if you've got depth, you're still going to take the crappier score of what you wouldn't have played. So I reckon if you're confident enough in him to not have your armband on Teddy, if that's your other guy, then you definitely 100% straight do it. The only reason you don't do it is if then, I don't know, you're just a bit like me that worries about and has to have a little bit of insurance. If something does go wrong, then you can capitalise. But then how much are you capitalising, because the rest of the people are already on Teddy anyway, and you might just go, you have to go someone like a winger, which is risky, scary.
And I think these are the guys you're going to captain most likely anyway. Nathan Cleary was the other guy. I think if Nathan Cleary was an option, you could VC a Tommy, or you could VC a Cleary into a Teddy captain, but I think the way I'm looking at it, it's just one or the other, because you can't VC one and captain the other.
When I also reckon for people that are a bit on the fence too, if you're someone that just loves to have a vice captain and a captain have two cracks at it, then maybe Teddy's the guy for you, because then you can have your vice captain early in the round.
For who? On who?
On whoever you want. If you're a Teddy owner, you've got a whole weekend. You got any of your centre wingers, if it's your new, if you're bringing in DCE, so for people who are doing Teddy, they can go, I'm going to vice captain DCE, or I'm going to vice captain Garrick, and still get a little bit of that nice game there. And there's other nice games. I'm really big on. Last week, I got it wrong. I was actually thinking Teddy was the better Turbo was the better option. I thought he would score more, but he didn't. Teddy scored more. But this week, I'm on the because I was worried because I was a non-Turbo owner last week. But this week I'm not as worried, just because I feel like it's a way better matchup for Teddy in the daytime. I just feel like they'll leak more points than what the Tigers will.
The Tigers. His average is only 75 against them.
He did have a low score of 36 last time he played him.
Yeah, 33. He scored a 27 against them.
He had a groin injury in that game, went off 71 minutes into the game.
Oh, 71 minutes is still pretty long.
Yeah, but he might have been playing with that groin throughout it, and then it finally pissed him off enough to he goes, that's it, I'm coming off
his
now.
max score is only 131, and against these lower defensive sides, we usually see a lot more from him. So, if he's high, I'm big on pass stats, and the pass stats don't look as pretty as his average against the Bulldogs, who he plays next week, is 100.6. You look at that.
But they're probably really false indications too.
They are
false
indications, and I think the Tigers are. We saw the Cowboys put a score on them the last time they played at Leichhardt. So I think coming off a win.
Back your gut. It's one of these just back your guts. If you feel like
I don't know.
There's every reason that Manly should just absolutely smash him. Just for me, I've just got that little bit of part of me that just goes, I think the Tigers are going to try rally at Leichhardt. I kind of like what they're doing. They're not getting too pumped.
Or what, coming last?
No, but mate, there's always got to be a shit side, right? They're shit side. So the thing is, even 2 weeks ago when Ponga played them, it was only 34-18. Yeah, Kalen Ponga got his attacking plays in and scored 124.
Newcastle are also a pretty shit side.
Yeah, and they are they're the lowest attacking side. They were averaging the least going into that game, actually. So that's, you can add that to the argument. But, yeah, I just reckon the Tigers, I don't know, I just don't feel like they get put to 50 too much. You know what I mean? They get beat comfortably, but they don't.
Well, this is where they officially get ruled out of the competition.
Why?
Manly are too good. All right. That's it for today's episode. Sorry, lads. It's been a pretty rushed week. I was at the Daily Telegraph today and they didn't even record the show, so it's been a rushed day. It's been a pretty rushed, I guess it feels like there's not much to talk about because team lists aren't really carnage. We're waiting for this carnage to come around so we can deal with it, I reckon. But head-to-head finals, hopefully we provided a little bit of value. And then we'll be back next week, hopefully hot and firing, and speaking about Melbourne's restings and potentially the Roosters.
Well, let's hope not for both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of them we could deal with, two would be carnage.
We'll see you next week.